So you guys started this conversation really early in your relationship about having children.
Yes, we definitely started early. It was one of the first things we talked about.
Yeah.
And we both decided that we wanted to have families, and especially together.
It's 2025 and your family can look however you want it to look, and it can be made in many different ways. And because of the current political climate, we are nervous about our right to marriage and even our right to a family.
Mhm.
Yes.
And so it's like getting the embryos, getting started, because who knows
We don't know what's going to happen in the
if
next...
we'll even be able to get
Mhm.
married legally, if we'll be able to be recognized as parents, or if they'll try to take that away. And that sounds dramatic, but it's not.
It's the reality.
It's not.
the reality
No.
for us and for many couples.
Many people. I want to talk to everyone about it, the ups, the downs, and hopefully that helps others and inspires them to go on this journey.
If you have a calling, if you have a feeling that you want to be a parent, you can do it. And there's people out there to support you. And it's not going to be easy all the time. And it's a long process, but it's possible.
I know you're just as excited as I am to get this wonderful episode started. But before we do, I just want to quickly mention something wonderful. On June 11th, we are offering a special workshop. You know, we offer weekly workshops inside our community, and once in a while, we offer them to the public. This one is absolutely free of charge, and it's a 101 on donor conception. We're going to cover everything from choosing the right donor to open donation to family limits and all sorts of things that you need to know when you're beginning this journey. And it's absolutely free. You can get the link in the show notes, on my website on the events page, or on social media. I can't wait to see you there. From our Building Your Family community, this is the Building Your Family podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Schumann, author, researcher, and reproductive medicine therapist. As the leading destination for support and education for people using reproductive medicine to grow their families, we cut through the noise to provide you with research-based information, effective and actionable strategies, and the support that you need to feel better so you can get into the driver's seat of your life and build the family of your dreams. We look forward to seeing you inside. Welcome to another episode of the Building Your Family podcast. Today, we are joined by Jove Meyer and Kyle Torrence, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them both. So Kyle is a manager and works with models and some very influential people. Jove Meyer, as you probably know, is seen everywhere. He's been on television, he's been on newscasts, he's been in the media all over the place, and certainly you can find him on social media talking about his wedding planning and also all the important things that he talks about to really encourage inclusivity and visibility, and we need that, as you know, now more than ever. So thank you both for coming. I'm so happy that you're here, and I really appreciate you coming before your honeymoon because I know it was hard to squeeze this in.
Yeah, we're so happy to be here.
Thank you so much for having us.
I'm so excited to meet you both, and I'm so excited to talk about your family building journey. I saw your announcement when you first said, we're going to be parents, we're choosing a donor, we're choosing an agency. And so maybe you can, I know you've talked about it a lot already, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. But first, maybe just start by telling us a little bit about how you met. And I know that you both had a very exciting engagement, both of you.
Yes. We met on Tinder during the pandemic. I definitely think that the pandemic was great for so many people. We finally had a moment to sit, and I realized everything I wanted was a partner and to spend my life with someone. And life moves so fast in New York City. There's not a lot of time to think. You're just working and doing.
Yes.
And the one positive of COVID was that I got to sit with myself, think about what I wanted. And I was able to really reach out to Jove on Tinder. I was like, I'm looking for something real. I'm looking for a family.
Which was refreshing.
Yeah, I finally stopped looking for what I thought people thought I wanted or what I thought a gay man in his late 20s wanted. I was honest about looking for real love and looking for a family. I wasn't scared to say that, even if it scared someone off. And luckily, I looked at Jove and I wrote that to him, and he was looking for the same things. It was really kismet for us.
Oh.
And I wrote him, and I went to visit him in Fire Island. I had a pass already to come back on a boat in case the date didn't work out.
2 boats that day.
There were only 2 boats that day, so I really couldn't
and
miss
at
the
5
second.
o'clock. So we were saying the same thing quietly. Like, if he wasn't a great date, he could take the 5 o'clock home.
But I missed the first ferry. So I was like, but this date is going to be the one. I just felt it. So I chartered my own ferry and felt like Barbara Streisand singing the whole way there. Got out in a big hat. He was shaking his head at me, and he's been shaking his head ever since.
Oh my God, that's great.
Yeah, that's true.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, that's a beautiful story.
It was a pretty epic first date, and I had just bought my home, and then the world shut down and my business shut down, and I was naturally freaking out because everyone was in such a state of panic. But as Kyle said, the world pausing gave us the opportunity to pause and really sort of find love. And he came to Fire Island and never left. And so that was...
I was like, this is great.
That was 5 years ago. And then we were building the house. And so he kind of hopped right into helping me renovate. And then he went to IKEA for me. And IKEA in the middle of the pandemic was a disaster and a war zone. And the order that I got was incorrect. And I was like, do you mind on your way out just stopping there to pick up a few cabinets? And he did, and showed up with these cabinets. And I think that's when I said, I love you, which happened pretty quickly.
And that's when I learned that his love language is acts of service.
Yes, it is. That is correct.
So my vows at the wedding are really just going to be a list of things that I will do for him.
You can start now.
Yeah, I could start. No, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until I say them out loud.
We can start right here, Lisa.
Start right here on this podcast.
Right here. Right now, let's commit.
Right.
No, gonna wait. Give me another month.
We can memorialize it on this podcast. Yes.
Exactly. You heard it here first.
That's right. Wow. Oh my gosh. That's fantastic. What a great story. So, Jove, you were, I guess, worried about this because nobody was having weddings during this time. And thank goodness, you had Kyle kind of to soothe your nerves, but you also work in design, right? You help people design their homes and all of that. And was that going on at all during the pandemic?
So not really. And even I was redesigning the home in Fire Island, which is our home, but the whole world fell apart. And there was a point where we could only have one person inside a building at a time. So if you know anything about renovation, you want to have multiple people doing multiple projects at the same time. So, the plumbers in the bathroom and the tilers in the kitchen and the painters in the living room. But during COVID, there was a point where you could literally only have one human being inside a residence at a time working, and I couldn't be there to manage. So the whole world fell apart from like a wedding. Weddings became illegal. Gosh. Interior design became effectively illegal. You couldn't really work with one person and no one there to, oversee it. So my world totally paused. And in an odd way, it gave me time I never had before to invest in a relationship, but also I ended up doing all the demo work myself, and I started a lot of the reno work myself.
Oh, wow.
That wasn't the plan, but now I had no weddings. I had no interior clients.
Oh my
I had this home I had just purchased, and the world was frozen. So we were alone on an island demoing this house.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah. Wow.
And even on the island, no one was talking. There were only like 5 houses of people that were there, and they didn't even want to see us. If they saw us go on the ferry once, they did not want to see us when we came back.
Yeah, because we were going to the city, and the city was the epicenter, and then coming back to the island, and the island is an aging community, and it was like we were forbidden. Like, even though it's all outdoors and very safe, and we never got a case in the early time, everyone was so scared, rightfully so.
Scared.
Yeah,
it
was a very scary time.
Population, but we were like pariahs because we were the only 2 people leaving and coming back, and leaving and coming back during that period.
So you're stuck on this island together. You had to obviously had a lot of alone time, and you already started, as you mentioned, that you not only want a relationship, Kyle, but you felt like you wanted a family. So you guys started this conversation really early in your relationship about having children.
Yes, we definitely started early. It was one of the first things we talked about.
Yeah.
And we both decided that we wanted to have families, and especially together.
I think in gay relationships, it's hard because you either do or you don't, and it kind of makes or breaks a relationship. Mm-hmm. And if one partner really wants and the other doesn't, I don't know how that moves forward. It was something we were both interested in. We discussed it early, and then I think kind of like put it on a shelf. It was like something we want down the road. But then it wasn't until like a year ago, maybe.
Yeah. There's one moment when I knew that I wanted to raise a family with Jove that always sticks in me even more than when I first said I loved him. When I was growing up, I would come home after a bad day because as a gay kid, the world was scary, but luckily my home was safe. So after a hard day, I'd come home and I'd roll inward into the couch and my parents would lift me up, say they love me and put me to bed. And the last time that happened was in 2007 when I graduated high school. Otherwise, I was alone. I was always looking at the door. I'm in New York. I would never have rolled with my back to the door. And right when Jove and I moved in together, I rolled over. He lifted me up and he put me to sleep. And I was like, this home will be safe, not just for me, but for our future children. And I was like, we have to have kids now because I know we'll be able to provide what my parents did. And just that moment was so powerful because I don't think I ever thought as gay people that we could have kids. We couldn't even get married when I was little. Mm-hmm. I remember when my mom pointed out a gay person to me for the first time, trying to just have me see that they existed. And now that we're in this world where we're in Brooklyn Heights and we're walking around and we see more gay couples walking with children than straight, and that these moments happen, that we're able to make this happen is just so powerful. And after that, we kind of both sat and we said, we're getting married. Let's get started. This is a long process. So
yes,
let's get on it. And we're both at the point where we could afford it. And we feel very blessed that we can.
Yeah, no, for sure. Something we talked about early on. And then a lot of Kyle's friends and mine are in the kid age, our straight friends are having kids, and watching Kyle with these kids, he's such a natural, and it definitely was like, oh my God, that's so beautiful, and his love, and like he's going to be an incredible father. And I'm not getting younger, I just turned 40, and so if this process can take 2 to 3 years, we should probably get started and get going. And so we found out about Men Having Babies, the conference, and there was one in March in San Francisco last year, and it was around my birthday, and we were maybe going to fly to San Francisco, but I forget.
Life happened.
Life happened. And we weren't able to go. And then I realized there was another one in September here in the city. So we bought tickets, we registered, and we were like, if we're going to do this, we need the resources, we need the information, we need the support. We need to make sure we have inclusive vendors where we're not going to be faced with discrimination in this process. So that really jump-started everything.
It was amazing.
September.
And a room full of people all going through the exact same thing we were going through was amazing.
Yeah, it was like, just imagine a room full of single, like we both knew we wanted kids, but I wouldn't want to be a single father intentionally. That's not a journey I think either of us wanted. But to see these men who knew that that's what they wanted, even as single people, it was really meaningful. And there were people in wheelchairs and people of different ages.
And if you've made it to the conference, it's real. A lot of guys, luckily Joe was honest, but everyone's like, I want to have kids. I want to do that. Yeah, let's meet up. Let's go on a date. You know that you're in a room with people that really want it. So it's incredible. So get out there, amazing single men who want children.
Actually, the first year that they had a single men's group, Ron asked me to run it. And I was running this single men's group. And he said, it's just going to be a small group. You can run it. And so I ran it. And there were so many men there that he said, oh my God, I can't believe this room is packed. He was shocked. He couldn't imagine that this was going to happen. But there are more and more single men. And it's great. I mean, we've had single women having children for decades.
Exactly.
Yes.
Great that single men are more and more single. I mean, I think Andy Cohen helped a little bit, but
100%.
Helped to get that started. But it's wonderful to see more and more single men having children. And if you're not partnered, why wait, right?
It's incredible.
There's lots of ways to build a family.
Exactly.
Yes. I also feel like we live in a time as gay men with IVF. Most of my girlfriends are going through IVF. I've never felt I feel so included in the conversation with all of my friends. It all feels so normalized with it being that a lot of people are going through that.
Less othered because it's not like gay people have a baby this way and straight people have a baby this way, like more and more couples.
And I have girlfriends that have surrogates. It's this wonderful time where it's all so normalized. We're very lucky to be living with so much information and so many friends going through similar things.
So speaking of which, when you started, so you went to the conference, you thought, okay, we can get started now.
Yeah. I'm an event planner. So I am organized, and research is like spreadsheets. That's what I do as my job. Kyle's a little bit more go with the flow.
I'm a child of the theater, so I'm a little more creative.
Follow his
see
feelings.
what happens.
So once we registered, I made a spreadsheet of every provider. I went to all of their websites. I noted their pros and cons, and I did outreach for pricing, process, just to kind of get a full landscape of what I would do for my clients in the event or, interior design space, like get a lay of the land, because this is new for both of us. And everyone had a little different way that they did it, a little different vision, a little different pricing structure. And so the goal for us is I went in sort of like with ideas, but we went in blind and really wanted to meet the right people in the room. And so we started with our medical team, right? And so we were pretty honed in on San Diego fertility, but we had two others we were interested in. But when we met Dr. D,
we had a private, you could like break out and have the privates with him. And he was immediately, it was like a warm hug. I felt like it was with my own father.
Yeah.
Nice.
He was so kind. He made us feel so comfortable when we were kind of a little
He has two children
nervous.
himself, and one of his kids is in theater, and he's been doing this for 27 years. And one of his first couples was a gay couple, and he's been proudly supporting our community, not since it was popular, but for a very long time for, intended parents, queer parents all over the world. And we met probably 3 or 4 doctors, but we were smitten.
It felt right away.
And the way he guided us and the way he explained things in a simple but sophisticated way. And just kind of, I was like, you're the one, we trust you to guide us in this process.
Yes.
We trust you
That's great.
to help us pick the right, medical decisions, because it's, for us, it's so weird. We're a part of it, but it's also just an email away. Like, we don't get pregnant. We're not there for the retrieval. We're not there for
Which feels even crazier as the process goes on. It started feeling slightly like that. And now we're like, wait, this is so crazy. There's so much happening that we're not a part of.
Yeah, they're literally like, the egg retrieval is happening this week, and it's like a very big moment.
Yes.
It's all just kind of happening in the clouds. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have eggs. We're not laying in the doctor's office. We're not going under. Like, it's happening, but I don't know.
Weird. It's this weird feeling where you feel this current of a huge thing is happening in my life, but at the same time, I'm just going about my business, and I don't really exactly feel it. So it's a little crazy.
Yeah. Right away, he was the one.
He was
just
great.
Like, you're the way to go. And my family's in California, so I knew that if I could go out there for my physical stuff, I could also make a family trip out of it. And it just kind of felt right. So we agreed on them very quickly.
That was really quick.
And then our next step, the surrogate agency or egg donor agency.
Egg donor.
Egg donor agency, we actually, again, I'm an overachiever. So I made a list of the top 10 agencies in America, because we discussed we wanted to keep it domestic. We weren't interested in the complexities of international. No disrespect to other people's choices.
Good idea.
But we were like, even though you can save money in Mexico and Canada, and we were just like, that might be too much for us in our life and our career. So we started looking at surrogates online alone. I think we thought
egg
we
started looking at egg donors alone. We thought maybe we can do this ourselves.
Like Tinder. You just find profiles, you read about them, you swipe a little bit, you swipe.
We looked for months, and we were completely overwhelmed. And
we looked at hundreds of profiles.
Yeah, hundreds of profiles.
We did it with his parents.
We got my parents involved, and that was...
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
That was
We put it on the big screen TV, and we sat on the couch, and his mom was like, let me read her whole life story. And his dad is like, let me see more pictures of her. And then I was like, I want to know this. And he's like, I want to know that.
Yeah,
and we went 4 different opinions and 4 different thoughts. And
don't bring other people into these decisions.
No, but we just thought like it would be nice to do that.
Yes.
We actually found an egg donor before all of that really quickly, but we were like, you know what? We feel called to this mission. We want to support her. She wants to support us. We love it. And then she went and got tested. She learned she was infertile. And that must have been...
Not infertile. I think her number was too low.
Meaning, but she had no egg, none.
Well, she couldn't be an egg donor. Yeah.
She couldn't be an egg donor. She
donor.
wouldn't have eggs. And so like just heartbreaking mostly for her, because we know she wanted a family for herself.
Yes, that's so sad.
And then it was devastating for us, because we had fallen in love with her and her profile and her story.
It was very upsetting. And then I personally needed to take a break for a moment, because we had worked so hard. I kind of envisioned this person to be the genetic makeup of half of our child.
Yeah.
So it was emotional, which I was shocked by how emotional I got when that happened.
Yeah.
But I just felt connection. I finally felt like we were moving forward, and that took us a step back. And then we had to restart again. Then we found someone that we liked, but we weren't sure because when we sat and talked to her, it was so different than just reading about her, and she was amazing. We found out
a real person.
Yeah, she was a real
picture.
person. We found out that she has a gay brother and does this for gay families, which was amazing for us.
Yes.
Yeah, and she's doing it for herself. She just got married to buy a home and to further her life. And it just was like people supporting people in such a beautiful way. But we almost skipped her, as Kyle was saying. Something, I think we were both still mourning the loss of our first egg donor that we really felt was like, and we compared everyone to her, which is not fair.
But then we met her and she was so intelligent and wonderful and driven.
Super kind, very sweet. And then the baby picture of her and her brother just
adorable.
Won us over. Adorable. Yeah, that was
great.
sealed the
and
deal.
She does weightlifting, which is great. We can have a strong child because they're not getting that from us.
We don't do that.
That's so funny. So did you guys decide that you'd like to be in contact with your egg donor and be able to reach out to her if you need medical updates or if your child's interested and anything like that?
We would love to be as open as the women would like to be. We say that with our surrogate and our egg donor.
Yeah.
So it's as much contact as they're okay with. And we haven't chosen our surrogate yet, but with our egg donor, she said she's open as well.
Yeah.
So
that's
we're
fantastic.
happy to keep that door open.
We want to be as open, as transparent. Obviously, we didn't make a baby alone, and we want to raise a child that's aware of the village that it took. And I think even our dream is for the other family that she's donated eggs for, is 2 men. We'd love to be put in touch with them if they're interested, because it's all
and from the
big
beginning,
family.
we want to sit and explain all these amazing women that helped make our beautiful child and tell that story from day one so they know that and feel comfortable with that. And if they want to get in contact or in the future, we'd love that to be possible.
Yeah, I mean, easy to do holiday cards, updates, but I think Kyle only has best friends. That's his signature in life. And so I think he would be thrilled if our egg donor and our surrogate were also his best friends. So we're very open, but it's whatever they're comfortable with. We don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable, but
yeah. Well, that's great because, egg donation is a lifetime commitment and children might be interested in, you may want medical updates. That's so fantastic. It's such a gift for your future children to be able to have that.
100%.
Of course.
And are you guys interested in maybe having 2 children or 1 or 3? Or?
This has been
a big discussion.
Jove, I think, would love to jump in and go for twins with one of each of our embryos.
Logistically, I'm in production and events. I love efficiency. And so this whole process is an absurd amount of money. And if our goal is 2 children down the road, the most cost-effective way is to try to have twins. Obviously, there's no guarantee, but we sat with it for a while. We thought about what
financially it makes sense. But for me personally, I'd love to just experience one before I throw a second one in there, even though we know there's still a percentage that we could have twins.
Yes, it might happen. But we've decided we are going to go for a single transfer and then down the road, hopefully have a second child.
Okay, yeah, it's so ridiculously expensive. It's such a shame. It really is.
Yes. Also, the places that we live are 2 bedrooms. So
We're
for now, I think we should start and then see how we grow.
See where you grow.
How we fit here and if we can grow further here.
Yes.
Imagine your beautiful future. You're snuggling with your child. You feel so connected to them. Your friends and family are so happy, and you have everything that you've ever wanted. I want this for you too, but I want more than that. I want you to feel secure knowing that you've made the best decisions, not just short-term, but long-term for your future family. Wherever you are on your journey, whether you're choosing a donor, choosing a clinic, learning how to talk to your donor-conceived child about their origins, all of these decisions will have wider implications for your future. And I want you to have the right resources so you can feel empowered and confident at this very important time in your life. That's why I'm so excited to introduce you to Building Your Family. It's the only expert-guided platform designed for parents and parents-to-be using reproductive medicine. We provide unique strategies that you won't find anywhere else to make your path to parenthood smoother and more informed. And that's why our approach is about offering practical and actionable steps that you can use right now. Whether you're just starting out or already deep into your process, Building Your Family is here to guide you with expert advice, specialized education, stress reduction strategies, and a community to support you every step of the way. We can't wait to see you inside. And what about your family and friends? Do you have people that you talk to about the journey within your families? Do you feel like there are other people in the world that you want to share with? Because you guys are so public and you have public personas, and I know you have a podcast. So are there things that you feel like you want to share or not share about your journey?
I personally love sharing all of it. If I were a kid that could have listened to this or seen gay love, queer love, people telling their stories, I think I'd be a very different person. It took a lot of therapy and introspection to get to the place of accepting that I can have all this and that I am normal. And it takes people telling their stories for other people to feel that they can be normal and they can do what we're doing. So I feel I want to talk to everyone about it, the ups, the downs, and hopefully that helps others and inspires them to go on this journey if that's what they want.
Yeah, I think we're both very lucky that both of our families are very supportive and they get the play-by-play updates.
Yes.
And I have 5 brothers and Kyle has 1 brother. And I think it's funny the texts I get from my brothers who are just like really lovely guys, but just have no clue about the fertility journey outside of, having sex and having a baby.
Right.
And so
that's it.
There's like a genuine curiosity and like, how do you do that? And what do you do? Like, and I love that they're excited about it and his parents. And as we learn, we're sharing with our family. But what I found is my business is design, but my mission has always been inclusivity. And it's always been the underlying voice of everything I've done. And so when we started this journey, I thought it's very personal. It's not really aligned with my brand in terms of design and joy and weddings and interiors. But it's aligned in the mission of inclusivity and sharing what this could be like, as Kyle said, to inspire even one person, one family, one couple, that if you have a calling, if you have a feeling that you want to be a parent, you can do it. And there's people out there to support you. And it's not going to be easy all the time. And it's a long process, but it's possible. And so I think like part of the reason we share is to really give voice to these amazing inclusive companies that we love. And to let everyone know it's 2025 and your family can look however you want it to look, and it can be made in many different ways.
I'm sure there will be hard times since we opened up our journey. If things are hard or go a different way than we expected, I do know that will be really hard because I want to be open and transparent. But I do have a little fear about, since we opened this, we have to be completely transparent. So that's the only
Yeah, it's a little bit scary.
Scary side of
the
that.
vulnerability is what makes us human, and it's like what makes you connect to someone. And even our friends, multiple of our friends have had miscarriages. And I kind of, as sad as it is, there's a movement where younger women today are feeling more empowered to share that with friends and family, versus I feel like women of the past felt so horrible and they wouldn't tell anyone and they would sit with it alone, even though it's not their fault. And so seeing our friends go through that, we know that if our first transfer doesn't work, like there's a million things that could go right or wrong. We have a community of people out there who support us. And when we share with the internet, the love we get and the helpful hints that we get and like the support that we get is amazing. And there's such a stigma around gay people becoming parents. And there's some people in this world that think we shouldn't do that. And I think proving them wrong and showing them we're just like you. We're in love. We want a kid. We want a house. We want the American dream, not the gay American dream. We just want the American dream, the same one that you want.
Of course.
Equality is equal. We don't want more or less or different. We want the same.
And in what we were talking about, my girlfriend even wrote to me the other day and she said, I know I shouldn't be telling you I'm pregnant really early. And my parents said I shouldn't tell anyone, but she said, I have to tell you because if something goes wrong, I'm going to want to call you. So I can't just hide all this and keep all of this and go through that myself. So I do think for us too, it's good for us to be out there, tell everyone so that we have the support as well. We're all just humans and we need help during all of this. It's an emotional process and parenting in general, as you know more than us, you need a team and a community to do it with.
And the number of DMs I get, it's really heartwarming from people who are like, I didn't know this was possible for us, like gay people, or, there's such a stigma. And the number of DMs of like, when we do Q&A with Dr. D, when I filmed a bunch of questions that I had early on that now I know the answers to. But I didn't know, like, I thought you could mix the sperms and that's how you did it. And he was like, no, no, that's not how you do it.
And we live in New York City, and there's people, when you have a platform on the internet, like you have, people are writing from places, we take for granted where we live and what we know. We think that everyone thinks this is accepted, but there is a boy in the middle of Arkansas, who has no one explaining any of this to him, and then he can go online and see that it's real. And that's the nice side of the internet.
Yeah.
So
it's been powerful, and it's opened doors in a really interesting way, and meeting people in a space that's new for us. And we're always learning. We're not purporting to be experts.
Not at all.
But it's like, this is our journey, and we're going to share it. And if you can relate or find something beneficial in it, then we've done the job.
Yes.
That's wonderful. And it's so nice that you guys are on the same page, because, we often talk about privacy versus secrecy, right? You don't want to feel secret about something because that means that there's shame involved. But everyone's entitled to some level of privacy, and some people are more private than others.
Totally.
And when two people don't feel the same, it can be so difficult. But it sounds like both of you, in terms of how public you feel you can be and how comfortable you are sharing your story, is pretty similar for the two of you.
Yes.
I think we're lucky in that regard. And it's also been fun in our friend group, because we now know a lot of our gay couple friends who are having kids were more in the secret side. I think they were like just going to tell everyone they were having a baby when they were at the 8-month mark of pregnancy. But now we have a few different friends that are like, oh my gosh, we just did that. We're working on our second. Are we going to be pregnant at the same time? And
it's opened up a lot of conversations
and relationships with people that we knew kind of in a friendly way, but now we're just going deeper because they went through it, or we're going through it, and they're thinking about going through it. So it's
the one thing we had different opinions on was
names.
Names, yes. But when we decided that we're going to pick the first embryo, the healthiest embryo, and that'll be the first child or the first embryo that we put inside our surrogate. But I assumed that when we got the strongest embryo, they would tell us which one of ours it is, and then we would move forward. Yes.
I had a more
we had different assumptions
approach, and I thought, it doesn't matter, it's ours, and I don't need to know. Like, we'll find out when the baby acts like you or like me or whatever. But I just sort of didn't need to know. And I thought I had that conversation with Kyle, but it was a conversation in my head. And Kyle was like, no, I want to know the day we transfer.
It was so hard. Yeah, I had to be honest. And I didn't feel, for some reason, it made me feel almost like a bad person. But I was like, I just want to be honest.
Yeah, it's what you want.
I think that I may feel a moment of disappointment if it's not my genetics. And I don't want to have that disappointment once we're in the pregnancy or once the baby's born. I'd like to deal with that right away. Get rid of that so that I have that out of the way for the duration of the pregnancy. And I said, I'm sorry, that's how I feel. I wish the way Jove was thinking sounded so beautiful, but I just had a different feeling, a different approach to that.
Kyle, I will tell you, you're in the majority. So I published research on this, and I can tell you that in our research, almost all the gay male couples that we saw wanted both of their genetics. They wanted a child with both of their genetics. So that was maybe 98%. So you're in the majority.
Okay. Just me swimming upstream alone. Story of my whole life.
Keep swimming.
And obviously, with all the decisions, even the twins, like, we go with the most comfortable for both of us. Like, neither of us would do something this drastic without making sure we're both equally comfortable. So he said, well, how about I find out and you don't need to know? Like, I know him, and I'll say, great, I don't want to know.
I'm the worst secret keeper.
If you want to get a secret out there, tell Kyle. He'll tell all of his friends.
If I knew now, I'd be like, shh, I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, he would literally tell you right now. So you're gonna find out. We'll see how long he can.
You'll see how you feel.
Yeah, we'll see how we do.
And you can change your mind. That's the thing.
Yes, of course.
We've never done this before, and emotions change and ideas change, but we're always talking about it.
Yeah.
So here's the tough question. Once you start down that road, right, every piece of this puzzle, you guys have been so enormously generous and kind and thoughtful and beautiful in your heart about trying to be inclusive and help other people. But the flip side of that is also, if you have people who are not responsive, right? People who are not kind, or people who are nosy, and particularly when it comes to your child, right? People feel very kind and sweet until it comes to their baby and somebody says something, sideways to their kid and their claws come out.
Yeah.
So, once you start this process and you hear all of this, maybe somebody's going to reply to you and you can just ignore them on the internet. But when somebody says to you, oh, your child is blah, 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 that means that you're the dad. And then the other partner's thinking, wait a minute, I'm not chopped liver over here.
Yeah.
What is the story here? Why are you saying that? But things like that can happen. So have you guys thought about how you're going to handle that when you know who's genetically connected, if you're going to share that publicly or not? And if so, how do you feel that that's going to affect both of you?
I think it's natural to have a curiosity about this, and everyone wants to know. And I think the intention of wanting to know comes from the right place. Mm-hmm. But I think the emotional impact might be diminished if you don't think about how they're feeling about the question. Mm-hmm. We haven't actually talked about it.
Once you said that, my first reaction was, and you tell me if other people do this. I don't know if it's different for close friends and then to new people we meet.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if everyone on the street needs to know.
Yeah.
But maybe our close circle, we could tell them. And then I just don't need to be at school pickup. And if someone were to ask that, I don't feel comfortable answering it at that moment. Because that's weird also, I think, in front of my child. I don't want them to think that I have a distinction.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's our child.
It's our child, exactly.
And I think for the internet, it's our child.
Yes. I think publicly.
Family and close friends, of course, if they want to know, they're going to find out eventually. You know what I mean? If it's a ginger that's theatrical or I don't really know how you describe a stubborn brunette, like they're going to find out. Type A or, they're going to know. And so I just think from a public standpoint, I don't know, like Nate and Jeremiah have 2 kids. And I think it's via surrogacy. And I don't think they've ever publicly shared whose is whose because both of their kids are their kids. So I think it's a need to know basis.
I think it's a not public thing, but maybe just our close friends and family if we choose to share that.
Yeah, because also for the child one day, and I don't even know if we haven't talked about if we have a family Instagram.
I love what you're bringing up. I love this conversation.
We're not pregnant, but we haven't talked about if we put our kid on the internet, there's a million things there.
Yeah, that's a whole
I do think like down the road, if your child is on the internet and sees Kyle saying, it's my child, or genetically I don't know. I just think that there's place and time. And
what do you find about telling is that something that people tell their child at a certain age, or that's something I don't know?
We could certainly talk about the whole disclosure issue, which is really helpful to talk to children about, of course, at a young age. But in terms of telling the world, it's a different story about who's genetically connected and who isn't. And some people do tell other people, and it's very open. Some people only tell their close circle. And some people decide, you know what, I'm going to tell my child. And when they're old enough to tell other people, they can make that decision. We'll let them make that decision about telling other people who they're genetically connected to. Yeah. And everyone has a different opinion. There's no right way. We've had lots of people on this podcast, physicians and genetic counselors and all sorts of people, attorneys talking about this very same subject with different views, but all of them are okay. What's most important is that both of you agree and that you know how to kind of think about how we're going to handle it as a couple, because the most important thing is that you guys feel close and that you get along and that it doesn't cause conflict in the relationship
between
that
us.
You guys, that you guys feel like this is really going to be the way that we're going to manage the situation, because I do think the other partner can feel left out. Even in the classroom, sometimes, teachers will focus on the parent who's genetically connected and think the child's just going to be like that parent. And then the other parent sometimes feels left out of that, or the child feels maybe cornered to maybe fit that expectation. So I think it's really worth thinking about as a couple and just making sure that the two of you are on the same page.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice.
Really good advice. Thank you.
Yeah, there's so many things to think about.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll have to make some time and do that for sure, because there are so many things to talk about. But it sounds like you guys are starting off on such a wonderful footing because you're deciding that you really want to make sure that you're thoughtful about all of these questions and that you're really sharing with the world such beautiful messages. And we need that now more than ever.
100%. And we feel not even in a rush. It was kind of part of our timeline, but even our surrogacy agency, we're working with All Love. They have this thing where like they'll put you on the list to get a surrogate before you have embryos to kind of move it along. And because of the current political climate, we are nervous about our right to marriage and even our right to a family.
Yes.
And so it's like getting the embryos, getting started, because who knows?
We don't know what's going to happen in the next.
If we'll even be able to get married legally, if we'll be able to be recognized as parents, or if they'll try to take that away. Like, and that sounds dramatic, but it's just, it's not.
It's the reality.
It's the reality for us and for many couples. So we're kind of moving along quickly and pushing it because we also just don't know. We don't know what's on the other side of this.
Yeah, it's really smart to do that. Unfortunately, it's something that we really need to think about. We're seeing lots of people in this area, in the New York, Connecticut area, people from other states sending their embryos here because people are worried. So absolutely, it's a concerning time, but it sounds like you guys are really fighting for inclusivity and really trying to empower people. And we need that. We need really positive voices right now.
100%, more than anything.
Yes.
Yes, more than anything. And you said that your friends and family are supportive. Have they always been supportive?
My family has always been supportive. My mom knew I was gay at 3. The only book she could buy was about a guy that lived in Fire Island, and I think had a very adventurous life. Growing up, I thought she bought a how-to, but of course there wasn't a how-to in 92.
Yeah.
So later I read the book and I was like, this is what you read when you thought I was gay at 3 years old? But so they were always very supportive, and my mom has a full closet of children's clothes with rainbows all over them. So she's ready.
So sweet.
Yes.
I had a little bit of a different scenario. I was raised super religious in an extremely religious organization. So I was not accepted. It wasn't even an option in my mind to be gay. And I struggled with that for many, many years. And I didn't come out till later in life. And there was a period of time I didn't speak to my father for several years because we disagreed on my lifestyle. And so that was really challenging. My mom, when I came out, she sort of said, finally, I guess she knew I would wear her shoes and her dresses. And I guess a mother always knows. And my older brother has been amazingly supportive. But my dad, there was a block there for a number of years. I'm fortunate now, our families met last 2 Decembers ago when Kyle proposed was the first time our families were meeting, and they got along super well. And my dad and I are in a much better place. And he has come to realize it's not a lifestyle or a phase, and that our love is genuine and real, and that Kyle supports and loves me. And what else could he want in a partner?
He's made huge strides. It's really incredible.
Yeah.
That's
so
great.
It's been
That's
nice
great.
to sort of have him come around. But it was a journey. It was a difficult journey for me because of religion, for sure.
So it must be particularly nice for you to kind of think about this new life that you're going to have with your baby, and you're going to raise your child in a very, very different way.
Yeah.
Than what you
different for
experienced.
me. I think similar for what Kyle. Kyle
Yes.
had a
picture of you,
picturesque
Jove.
childhood, but for me, 100% the intentional love and support, regardless, is something I lacked, and so it's something that's very top of mind for me as I become a parent. And I'm lucky to be marrying into a family. I mean, his parents are incredible, supportive. They both worked in education, and their greatest pride was being good parents. And it shows. And when you meet them, you feel that. And so, I think it's a really good foundation for both of us for what we want to create, what we are
creating.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, I really appreciate you guys so much and all that you're doing. As we wind down, what do you think we can share with our viewers in terms of what they kind of need to think about, how they can kind of think about the future, how they can be more open and more inclusive and supportive in any way possible, or what you've learned that maybe you didn't know before?
I think the biggest thing is like, I didn't realize how much time it would take. Everyone says it's like could be 2 to 3 years. And not just like abstractly, I think maybe as New Yorkers or because I run my own business, I'm like, I can do it quicker. I can do it better.
Yeah.
But the reality is like, it's a long process. So if you're even curious, reach out to people, go to a conference, have a conversation, like start engaging in your curiosities. Because if you don't get started, it could be 3, 4, 5, you know what I mean? Like time flies by. So I would say get started and in the right places, like Men Having Babies. The fact that we could go there and feel supported and safe and not have to worry. I had one call before Men Having Babies with the surrogacy agency, and they were telling me, I was like, okay, great. So do all of your surrogates stand by inclusivity, meaning all of your surrogates would work with same-sex couples or not? And she said, no, they don't. She said, we have to ask them and they have to choose you. And I said, so there's an option for discrimination allowed? And she's like, that's not how we view it. And I was like, well, how do you view it? Because you're allowing someone to offer a service for some parents, but not others. And the distinction is our sexuality. It is discrimination. And she's like, we don't see it that way. And it really made me realize like that could have been our battle with every, with the medical clinic, with the egg donor, with the surrogacy, with the legal team, every step of the way. But Men Having Babies for us, like really, I think we both felt super comfortable because discrimination is real and is present actively currently. But we're in a bubble that was created for us by gay men who didn't have that bubble in the 80s and 90s when they started. And so like remembering what came before us and that we're only here because of them, I think is also super important.
Yeah, 100%.
That's so beautifully said. And, I think it also highlights how brave you guys are to share all these details about your story, particularly as you have said, it may be a rocky, hopefully it won't be, maybe it'll be a smooth road, but if you know that it could be a rocky road and you're still out there talking about it and supporting people and answering questions and, I think it's wonderful. So thank you so much for doing that. And thank you for your time today. It's so great to meet you both.
So great to meet you.
Thank you. a true couple, yes. So where could people find you? Can you share your social media handles or what you'd like people to know?
Yeah, everything for me is at Jove Meyer.
And I'm at Kyle Torrence.
Okay. Terrific.
We keep it easy.
Keep it easy.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. Well, thank you. And thank you everyone for coming. I really appreciate your time. And please press subscribe because that's how we keep going. And I will see you next week. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this was helpful to you. And if you'd like more personalized support, more information, and more education, you can find it in the show notes under the Building Your Family community. We'd love to see you inside. And if you were interested in today's topic, you will really like this video.